what the break-even point is. But yeah, if you're planning on getting the Ghostblade, one thing you can do is rush the Avarice Blade, hold on to it for a while to pay for itself, and then upgrade. And you know, some people do stack Avarice Blades into Infinity Edge, and it's a perfectly valid combo. Cloak of Agility, it's not worth talking about it on its own because you're buying the Cloak of Agility to upgrade into another item at some point. Zeal I talked about a little bit when I was talking about Trinity Force. Zeal is a strong item. You are paying 375 gold for 2% crit, 5% attack speed, and 8% movement speed. That's what makes Zeal so great. It gives you a percentage-based increase to your movement, which is huge for chasing people down or running away. Because, let's say both of you have the same boots, you know, you both have Berserker Greaves, or you both even have Boots of Swiftness. Getting this will ensure that you outrun the other guy. And I said it a little earlier, some people get 2 Zeals. Because for the money, you are getting so much value, and that movement speed, you know, stacking movement speed is never a bad thing on a lot of characters. And it gives you the attack speed, the critical strike, it's not bad. And then later on down the road, you could upgrade one of these to a Phantom Dancer. I suppose you could upgrade the other one to a Trinity Force if you wanted to. But yeah, Zeal's a really strong item, and more people should get it. Anyone who you would like to be able to chase down other people with, you know, especially if you don't have a stun or slow built in, there's a lot of value to getting a Zeal. And of course the Zeal Phage combo is great because you run faster, and then when you catch them, you've got a good chance of being able to slow people down. And then of course if you've got both Zeal and Phage, well, you may as well just go and complete your Trinity Force because you've got half of it already. So lots of combos there. A super good item. Executioner's Calling. This is not an item I get very often, but it's a little foolish because apparently the math on this is that it is worth... okay, you're paying 500 gold to complete the recipe, right? Well, that 500 gold is giving you 7% crit strike. So basically, it's almost as good as a Brawler's Glove, and it's not much more expensive than Brawler's Glove. But in addition to the 7% crit strike, it also gives you 6% lifesteal, which, while I've talked about before, is not huge. It ain't bad. Plus, on hit, you inflict 4 damage per second for 8 seconds. So that doesn't stack, but it does mean that you'll guarantee at least another 24 damage. And it's got an active where when you turn it on, it deals, you hit someone, it reduces the healing and regeneration they get by 50%. Like, it's ridiculous. You get so much for your money. Executioner's Calling is really, really worthwhile. Now, most people only get it in response to a team that's got healing, and I think that's valid, because even though you get a lot of value for your money, you don't necessarily get that much value for a single slot, and most of the value they get for it is in the active that turns off healing. But if you're up against a Soraka, a Terra, a Mundo, even potentially an Ezreal, this is a great item to get because it really prevents them from healing. It's basically the same effect as an Ignite. So if you've got an Ignite, maybe you don't need the Executioner's Calling. But if, you know, because everything's blind picked, you don't know you need an Ignite. So, you know, you don't pick Ignite, you load up the game, you see at the loading screen, oh crap, we've got a Soraka. You know, get an Executioner's Calling, and then you basically disable that combo. The only disadvantage is it isn't active, so you've got to remember to turn it on. But if you do, you will be killing people with this. Great item, fantastic. I've talked about this, actually, I don't suppose I've talked about Phantom Dancer. Phantom Dancer is basically a Zeal on crack. You are getting the same stuff you get out of Zeal in that you get attack speed, you get critical strike rating, and you get movement speed, and you'll also end up getting a dodge chance. And of course, you just get more of everything. Phantom Dancer is really good. It gives you a nice rounded amount of stats, but as I've mentioned before, the Zeal is so good that it's almost better, like, for the cost of a Phantom Dancer is 3 times as much as Zeal, okay? So you can get 3 Zeals for the cost of 1 Phantom Dancer. What we get with 3 Zeals? Well, you would have 60% attack speed instead of 45%. You would have 30% crit rating, which is the same as what you get for the Phantom Dancer. You wouldn't get dodge, but instead you'd have plus 24% movement speed instead of the 15%. So you're trading the 20% dodge for an extra 10% move effectively, plus more attack speed and the same critical strike. So that's why you can see Zeal is so good. The only reason you, and the advantage, well, no, that's not really an advantage. I was going to say, you know, you can build Zeal for little bits of money and you don't have to wait. But you don't really have to wait for Phantom Dancer because you've already got a Zeal, and then you add on a Cloak of Agility, which is certainly a good item, and then you add on a Dagger, which is a fine item on its own. The real reason you may not go triple Zeal is because you're giving up a lot of slots. The Phantom Dancer, while for the money, you know, basically only as good as 3 Zeals, it only takes up 1 slot, so there's a big advantage there. So there's nothing wrong with Phantom Dancer, but at the same time, there ain't nothing wrong with going with a couple of Zeals. Especially since the main stat you're getting from these things is attack speed for a lot of characters. The crit is certainly nice, but the attack speed is where a lot of your damage comes from. And 2 Zeals is basically the same attack speed as 1 Phantom Dancer. 2 Zeals is also the same movement speed as 1 Phantom Dancer. So you're just slightly less crit, and you don't get the dodge chance, but of course you've only spent 2/3 the money. So not to overhype Zeal too much, and certainly not to bash on Phantom Dancer. Phantom Dancer is a fine item. And it makes you live a little longer because you get dodge chance. Phantom Dancer is a good counter to a lot of physical damage dealers because that dodge chance means you survive a lot more. And this item is probably really good for Jax too. I'm not an expert Jax player, so I don't know the value of things back and forth, but there you have it. Talked about those. Let's move on to the next category. Lifesteal. So I've made the case, especially in the last video, that Lifesteal is an item that has sort of a deceptive stat in that it's not as good as it seems. It is really good for keeping you in lane, and it's good in a one-on-one confrontation. It will let you win those one-on-one confrontations, because assume all your other stats are the same as, you know, some other guy, but you've got even just 5% lifesteal, well, you're going to win, because you're going to keep yourself alive while the other guy dies. And so it does let you win duels, especially against people who don't stun you. The trouble is, in group fights, the lifesteal that you get is not necessarily going to be enough to counter being focus fired on. If you get focus fired, you are going to be you're not going to be able to lifesteal enough. And if you get stunned at all or blinded at all, you're not going to be able to steal any life, so you're going to be at a disadvantage. Lifesteal is not as good as it seems to new players, although it's still perfectly fine. It's still good. And early on, it's got a pretty good role. I see a lot of people who are going solo mid, and if you're solo mid, you're probably going to get harassed back, and you want to stay in the lane as long as possible, in which case starting with a Vampiric Scepter is a perfectly valid move. Personally, I'm a fan of some other options more, but a lot of people do it, and it works fine. The question will mostly come down to what are you going to upgrade this Vampiric Scepter to, and is it a good idea? Let's see if I can get through this category really quick before my creeps win, because they've almost defeated the other team here. Oh my god, this is about to end. Okay, you know what? I'm going to cut this video here. I will start over very soon, and although I may not be able to start until tomorrow, and I will finish Lifesteal category, and then I will move on to Magic Movement and Consumables. So, folks, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time.